This is a movie he got the rights to, a movie he directed, a movie that texts from him to Blake show that he's very collaborative and wants her to share her thoughts and feedback. And I gotta say, it makes Blake, in my opinion, look 10 times worse.
It's not even about winning a PR war. Honestly, it's about saving someone's life. I mean, the fact that they've lost 4 projects, significant projects, the studio. There's obviously the reputational and emotional distress harm. He's got 2 little kids that pay attention to what goes on in the world. His wife is devastated.
What happens when you cross Blake Lively? Just ask the trail of former colleagues who suddenly disappeared from Hollywood after working with her. Their stories all follow the same pattern. Speak against Blake and watch your career crumble. Bryan Freedman, one of Hollywood's most powerful attorneys, wasn't just making wild accusations when he called out Blake's tactics. He was sounding an alarm that nobody listened to. Today, we're connecting dots that reveal how Lively has been silencing critics for years while maintaining her picture-perfect public image.
But I also knew that that wasn't fulfilling for me, that I wanted to be a part of the storytelling, that I wanted to be a part of the narrative, whether that be in the writing, in the costume design, in creating the character. And sometimes I had directors or producers or writers who would welcome that and invite that once they saw that I was able to offer that. And sometimes I would have people who really resented that because they were like, we just hired you to be an actor. Yet when I went in the meetings, I would just seem like I'm just there to be the actor and ready to get the gig. I wouldn't reveal that I actually need to have authorship in order to feel fulfilled. So I think that for them, sometimes that might have felt like a rug pull because you're like, you're trying to assert yourself into something that we didn't hire you to do. And so it was a really strange position to be in because I felt like I don't want to just be an actor. I want to have more authorship. It's just as
I just can't even, there's so much to say about this clip because I don't think she even realizes what she's admitting. Sometimes they'd let me and sometimes they wouldn't. And that then she goes further and says, I would just lie to them in the audition process and make them think I'm just an actress to do what they want. And then I'd slither my way in and take anatomy because I need authorship. And sometimes they felt like they didn't know that I pulled the rug from them. Well, yeah, that's because that's what you did. You knowingly admitted that's what you do. They want an actress. They hire an actress. They pay you to be an actress. That's your job. But then you do exactly what Justin's accusing you of. And imagine if Justin had just known this, if this clip had gone viral before to avoid this whole mess. I'm just the entitlement of her that she thinks this is okay and proudly displaying as we're women, so we can just lie and cheat and steal our way into control these big movies.
If you upset Blake Lively, things might take a serious turn. Just ask some of the actors and crew who worked with her and then vanished from the spotlight. Many people who teamed up with her noticed the same strange outcome. Say something negative about Blake, and your Hollywood opportunities seem to vanish. Bryan Freedman, a top entertainment lawyer, wasn't just throwing around claims when he spoke out about her behavior. He was trying to warn others, but nobody took him seriously. Now more pieces of the puzzle are falling into place, showing how she's kept her critics quiet while staying admired by the public.
Imagine, Harvey, you being accused of something that you just didn't do. You just weren't part of, and you're caught up in this, and you're a real decent human being, and this is a powerful thing that you're going through, and your whole career seems to have been gone and vanished before your very eyes.
I'm confused about that. I know William Morris dropped Justin, but at the same time, more people know who this guy is than they did before this. And just in terms of, the street Nielsen's that I see, just in terms of, what comes at us here at TMZ, that Blake was winning at the beginning and it turned around and she's not now. So isn't it mission accomplished? Because, I know you're suing for huge numbers, but especially your lawsuit against Blake. I feel like her lawsuit was a PR to try and salvage PR, and his was a reaction to that. And hasn't that all kind of been settled at this point?
I think what hasn't been settled is the fact that he's, they've lost 4 projects, significant projects, the studio. There's obviously the reputational and emotional distress harm. He's got 2 little kids that pay attention to what goes on in the world. His wife is devastated, and there's others involved in this too that have lost significant business and personal relationships.
Many people who once worked closely with Blake Lively have quietly disappeared from the spotlight, and it doesn't seem like a coincidence. Time and again, individuals who voiced concerns about her or had creative disagreements ended up off the project. From the early days of Gossip Girl to her recent producing work, a clear pattern has formed. Those who speak up tend to vanish. Think about the makeup artist from A Simple Favor or the costume designer from The Age of Adeline, once visible, now nowhere to be found. Emma Dawson, a script supervisor on The Shallows, reportedly questioned changes Blake made. Soon after, she left the set. Officially, it was due to scheduling, but insiders say Blake spoke to producers and Emma was pushed out. Jake Miller, a skilled cinematographer, was removed from a 2019 film just 2 weeks after a disagreement with Blake. Sarah Chen, a production assistant, described the tense atmosphere. Anyone who challenged Blake would suddenly be gone. Over time, Blake's influence has only grown, making these quiet removals even easier. Shockingly, at least 7 former co-stars have allegedly filed complaints against her, but none of these ever became public. Instead, actors were written out, their roles cut, and their careers
We're
stalled.
seeing a lot of these text messages between Justin and his editors that Blake stole the movie from him, that Sony allowed her to have final cut of his movie. This is a movie he got the rights to, a movie he directed, a movie that texts from him to Blake show that he's very collaborative and wants her to share her thoughts and feedback. And he was pushed out of the edit bay. Like literally could not see her cut before the premiere of the movie. Was also not really allowed to go to the premiere of his own movie because all of the cast said they're not going to be there with him, which to me, again, I think was because Blake made that happen and Blake started spreading this negativity about him throughout. That's what it seems like to me. And this now email that's been released in response to a glowing email they wrote about Blake to include her as a producer on the film. There's now a dated email from June of last year. So this was an older email basically saying the tone because they knew we got to explain ourselves and we can't keep pretending like this isn't an issue. Here's James, one of the producers of the film, saying, "Hey everybody, I'm writing you all regarding a letter that I wrote on behalf of Justin and myself addressed to the Producers Guild. As you know, we received a request to write a recommendation on behalf of Blake for her to receive the PGA mark and get a producer credit on the film. This was a request that we feel was unreasonable and cold-hearted. Essentially, the movie, It Ends With Us, had been taken unjustly from Justin as a director and essentially from Wayfair's control due to the extortion of Blake Lively. Without going into all the details of the events that have transpired over the months, Justin and I ended up agreeing to write the letter due to feeling trapped. She continues to hold a threat over our heads, and every time we try and hold a line, she uses that threat, either directly or indirectly, to get us to fold. Make no mistake, I am not suggesting that we were literally forced to acquiesce, but given the high profile of the movie, the partnership with Sony, the amount of money invested, and the need to complete the movie, we have written the letter on her behalf, omitting the truth of how and why she was able to contribute in the ways we listed. There is nothing to do with this letter now. It only serves as a way to memorialize why the letter was sent in the first place, should we ever need to explain it." So basically, she's using a threat indirectly, and holding it over their heads. Now, is that like, it sounds to me like, give it to me or else. Give it to me or else I'm going to go make those allegations. Give it to me or else, or you're never going to see your film again. Give it to me or I'm not going to promote this movie. I mean, either way, this sounds like this was forced on them. You better give it to me or else. And seeing some of the text messages, which again, we'll go through during the live, it is shocking how they were able to sort of just take control from this film. In fact, I don't want to tease it too much. These text messages show, they are showing was supposed to be uninvited. These texts, I don't think that's the actual one. There's so many of them. But as we go through these text messages, I talked earlier, agree we just couldn't be in the same room with Blake because of the premiere, because of all these issues. It would be hard for me to sit and watch the final film for the first time at the premiere just to cheer when we see our names come up. Yeah, I haven't seen it either. Crazy times. So neither Justin and Blue, or the editors who are in the film were able to see or get access to the film before it was released. Blake stole the movie from him. That this is now coming out through the text and through the lawsuit. Now, it doesn't mean that Justin didn't do bad things himself or uncomfortable things. I don't know. I'm still really torn on all this, but I will say, as I've now gone through all of the evidence that Justin's provided, it leaves me with a lot of questions. A lot of questions such as Blake Lively not wanting to meet with the intimacy coordinator that Justin set up for her. I'm good. I don't need it. There's a bunch of stuff about her blocking these scenes with him earlier. So much of what Justin's texts are revealing absolutely start to crack the narrative that Blake Lively has put out, at least her team has put out, to try to save face. And I got to say, it makes Blake, in my opinion, look 10 times worse.
Blake Lively's time on Gossip Girl wasn't just about fashion, fame, and red carpet smiles. It was where she learned how to control the narrative behind the scenes. The glamorous teen show that made her a household name was also where she allegedly started using her growing influence to shape how things worked on set. From 2007 to 2012, the public saw the cast as a tight-knit group of young stars who partied together and shared genuine friendships. Magazine covers and press tours made it seem like everything was perfect. But people who worked behind the scenes say the reality was completely different. As the series went on, Blake became the center of attention, not just as Serena van der Woodsen, but as a rising star in real life. Her big movie roles and famous relationships gave her extra power on set. Crew members say she used that influence to push for script rewrites and to make sure her character stood out more than others. Directors who didn't agree with her were quietly dropped from future episodes. Writers described how she had easy access to the show's producers and used that connection to get her way. She also had a habit of dividing people. Cast members, who were invited to her private parties or featured in her social media posts, were clearly in her good graces. Others felt left out, unsure of their place on set. This made it difficult for anyone to challenge her. One of the few who did was Penn Badgley, her former boyfriend and co-star. After he questioned her script demands in Season 3, producers even considered removing his character. Officially, it was about his storyline, but those on set knew better. Only a last-minute decision by network executives kept him on the show.
And I see how you got to that point. I don't think the New York Times knew about how little the Lively team was working, because, again, I've dealt directly with editors and attorneys for the folks at the New York Times, also the Wall Street Journal, the Daily News. These people are very careful. Like, they do not need. None of these guys are desperate for hits on the online, and they will ask questions directly. Like, is this legit? Did you really serve this? Is this really public information when at the time we're going to publish? And I don't know if I'm defending them, but I will take the stand that New York Times probably asked direct questions to make sure that the Lively team was acting above board, and that Lively, back to the New York Times, said something or omitted something or massaged something to convince the New York Times to do what they ended up doing. That is my position. Now, as far as what Baldoni's team can do and Freedman's team to do, what they could do is they could take all of this and do and work towards trying to disqualify Manat from, because they were part of that lawsuit, I believe.
Yep.
Disqualify Manat from continuing to represent Lively in the litigation because of the self-help and their conduct prior to the litigation, leading up to it. It is clever. It is wily, but it is completely unethical what they did, because this is the thing. In that lawsuit, what is the communications between Stephanie Jones and Baldoni regarding the film have to do with Van Zant's lawsuit? Nothing. It has nothing to do with that lawsuit. And if Freedman really gets this stuff and starts poking through discovery and depositions and putting people in corners as to timing, he can possibly get a very good motion before the federal judge about disqualifying the case. And then the other thing is, we still don't know if this existed before or after she handed over the phone.
What makes the story even more troubling than the tension with her co-stars is what happened when someone accidentally recorded Blake Lively behind the scenes. In 2017, during a film shoot, an audio technician named Michael Doran was doing normal sound checks between takes. The microphones were still live, and everyone had forgotten. What Doran picked up revealed a completely different side of Blake. Nothing like the cheerful, down-to-earth actress seen in interviews and on social media. Blake's public image is all about being kind, funny, and supportive of women. She posts about confidence and empowerment, often sharing pictures where she looks approachable and real. But the audio told a different story. Doran heard Blake quietly putting down a female co-star who had just received praise from the director. She acted like she was being helpful, suggesting the compliments weren't genuine and that producers had concerns. She offered to help rehearse lines while subtly making the actress feel unsure of herself. Later, the script was changed to give Blake more lines and a bigger moment in the scene. Crew members, like costume designer Rachel Winters, say this kind of behavior wasn't new. Blake often found quiet ways to outshine others. When word spread that the audio existed, the entire sound team was pulled into urgent meetings. NDAs were quickly handed out. Doran, who questioned the new contracts, was suddenly taken off the project. Officially, it was a department reshuffle, but everyone knew why. Around this same time, Blake was being praised in interviews for standing up for women in film, even as she was allegedly pushing out a female cinematographer who disagreed with her. According to one makeup artist, people learned fast. You're either in Blake's circle or you're gone.
There's Blake's team. Like, what is your suspicion? I mean, we all assume, oh, they were all working in tandem and it was all sort of crooked, or Blake's team was overseeing it. But from your sort of legal fair perspective, I mean, isn't it strange that Blake's team didn't put the full context in? Do you really think there's a version of this where they didn't go through it all with a fine-tooth comb before publishing it? Wouldn't they have been the ones that pick and chose which ones came through?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's not really a legal thing. That's a tactical thing. They made this tactical decision to omit things, and I think we discussed it right before we came on. I believe that Lively did this the way she did the Civil Rights Department complaint that's supposedly confidential, and she put it out, everything in there. I really think she picked this fight through that mechanism and process in order to anticipate a backlash and her asserting the privileges that we are now seeing. But it was not well thought out, and it's not an absolute privilege, and you cannot abuse the legal process. So the problem for Lively's team is we just found out about an initial abuse of the legal process, a misuse, let's call it a misuse of the legal process with this Van Zandt complaint, and then the Texas thing that happened. So I think she thought she was going to get away with this and have these protections, and it has not worked out. And I don't know who told her this, but she did not, or her team did not think this through by omitting stuff, because whenever you omit stuff, the other person has the whole thing. They have the whole thing. Like, you don't be stupid. You can't just delete stuff and go, look what I have. I'm like, yeah, I have the rest of it. Look, like it's like a no duh. It's crazy.
When lawyer Bryan Freedman spoke out against Blake Lively, he wasn't just sharing rumors. He was revealing a carefully crafted legal strategy that has been in place for years. Known for representing powerful names like Kevin Spacey and Chris I. Harrison, Freedman understands how celebrity legal teams operate behind the scenes. His remarks about Blake gained attention because they came from someone with deep knowledge of how these systems work. According to legal analyst Marissa Rodriguez, Blake's legal team runs a very advanced operation. Their method is based on 3 main steps: extremely strict NDAs, quick legal warnings the moment any negative talk begins, and hidden contract clauses that prevent crew or cast members from speaking out. These contracts go beyond normal confidentiality. Rules. One entertainment attorney said the wording in Blake's documents reminded him of national security laws. The consequences for breaking them can be so severe, they can end careers. Blake's legal team acts fast. In 2020, journalist Allison Meyer received a warning letter before even reaching out for comment. It even listed sources she had spoken to, showing they were monitoring her every move. Makeup artist Delia Francis learned this the hard way. She simply liked a comment online criticizing Blake and was contacted within hours. 2 days later, she was off the project. Freedman pointed out that Blake's team often delivers these legal threats in soft language or through middlemen. This way, Blake can claim she never personally threatened anyone. But the pressure is real. One letter sent to actress Jessica Wright, who had privately spoken about Blake's treatment of others, warned that her comments could be seen as damaging. The letter politely reminded her to remain silent. Wright never spoke about the issue again and quietly vanished from public view. Jessica Wright disappearing from the public eye wasn't just bad luck. It was part of a troubling pattern. Her situation mirrors what happened to Tara Monahan, a promising makeup artist who had spent over a decade building her name in the industry. Tara had worked on famous magazine shoots, awards shows, and even had investors lined up for her own beauty brand. She was on track to become one of Hollywood's top beauty experts. But that all changed in 2018 after she worked on a film with Blake Lively. Sources say Tara made one big mistake. She disagreed with Blake. Tara refused to make another actress look dull on camera, a request Blake had allegedly made. Within 2 days, Tara was removed from the set. The public reason was creative differences, but people close to the production said Blake made a call that got Tara fired. What followed was complete career collapse. Her agency dropped her, future jobs disappeared, and companies that had supported her pulled out. Emails even showed Blake's assistant telling other producers not to hire Tara. The same thing happened to others. Costume designer Victoria Winters lost Broadway gigs after offering an alternative look for Blake. Production assistant Zach Nguyen was removed for accidentally sharing raw, unedited photos of her. These examples paint a clear picture. Disagreeing with Blake Lively can ruin your career. Meanwhile, Blake's online image is pure perfection. A devoted mom, a supportive wife, and an advocate for women. But behind the scenes, she controls every detail, from interview questions to lighting on set. Leaked messages show her demanding changes that always favor her. Editors were instructed to retouch her images only. Directors were pressured to cut other actresses' scenes. Make sure to like, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments.